I'm getting this article from Inc.com. Inflation and rising interest rates have left American women struggling to make ends meet. Women are more likely to be living paycheck to paycheck, according to new data from Vero Bank. The online bank, along with Morning Consult and Thrive Financial Empowerment Services, surveyed 1,004 Americans in September and found that 59% of employed adults who lived paycheck to paycheck were women. Among respondents deemed financially fragile because they did not think they could come up with 2,030 days for an unexpected expense. 67% were women. The data offers some insight into the murky, if improving, economic picture. Inflation showed in October largely because of a dip in gas prices, slowed in October, but consumer prices remain elevated, particularly for necessities like shelter. At the same time, wage growth has been sluggish. Real average hourly earning increased by 0.8% from October 2022 to October 2023. While the female labor force participation rate hit a record high this summer, those jobs are not necessarily paying enough for those women to escape the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. For these Americans just trying to get by, the most pressing financial concerns cited were covering basic costs of living, not having enough savings, and having too much debt. Nearly half of those surveyed report they had sacrificed at least one basic need, such as doctor visits, dentist appointments, medications, mental health care, healthy food, or safe housing in the past 6 months because of cost. More than a third of respondents said that financial stress had negatively impacted their physical health in the last 6 months. An even larger share, 40%, said it negatively weighed on their mental health. The survey also found that more than half of the Americans with paycheck to paycheck had not completed college, while 28% said they had completed their bachelor's degree. Respondents were more likely to be living in the South, 35.8%, and have an annual household income between $50,000 and $75,000, 24% of whom did. Well, this article is interesting because I've said this before. All this talk about the great, amazing, terrific economy that everybody's thriving in and record jobs and all that crap, it doesn't really matter if people can't survive off of what they're making. I said before that it's not terribly surprising to see people struggling. Because as I've mentioned, a lot of these jobs will hire people part-time when they say they want full-time, and that causes people sometimes to have to get two jobs. It's very common for a lot of people I know who do live by themselves to have to get one job during the weekdays or one on the weekends just to make ends meet and maybe have a little bit more, saved or whatever. If I could point to, and I'm going to just say this, I have no data to support this, just my opinion. So, again, this is not a fact, it's just my opinion. I think the aspect of women having larger amounts of being paycheck to paycheck can be broken up into several different categories. One is that, from what I've seen, they're a lot more likely to engage in non-necessities like hair care products and buying a whole bunch of different clothes, and also because we have this epidemic of single mothers, they're more likely than a man to have to be single but also have another person they have to take care of, which also cuts into their ability to save. I'm not surprised by the 28% that said they have a bachelor's degree and they're living, because I said before, that stupid piece of paper is not saving anybody. It's not. It is a nice thing that people throw around as, just go to college, and you'll have a job that pays everything and you live happily ever after. But in actuality, the debt that you can accumulate from trying to get the degree can often screw you over for. You go to college for 4 years usually. You could be screwed over for the next 20. So it's not surprising to me that I think the number is actually higher than I thought it would be. I probably would say maybe it's like a fifth, right? It's some amount that is not minuscule, but it's no way it's almost 30%. But yeah, almost. So if you go to college, there is a quarter of a chance that you're going to end up living paycheck to paycheck with your bachelor's degree. Now again, the major we can debate what you get the degree in, but it's clearly, this is evidence it's not saving people, and it's this foolproof plan to get out of poverty. No, the part about, not being able to come up with 2,030 days for an unexpected expense. I mean, that's true a lot. Like the average cost of rent out here is about 1,800. So even if you get the 40 hours a week, where like let's say it's minimum wage, and you're getting about 2,000 bucks a month, I mean, all the money that you got is going to your rent, and then you have to like pick which other bills to pay and also feed yourself. That's why I said I don't know anyone who's under 40 that can afford to live by themselves. Everyone I know that's my age or slightly higher or lower lives with their parents or their damn partner. Like it's too much for anyone. But no, I'm not surprised more women are affected by it. They have a lot of stuff that just comes up, and they're certainly much more likely to have some other person they have to take care of from the whole like single mother thing that we keep seeing over and over. God, imagine sacrificing doctor visits just to have a bite to eat or to keep a roof over your head. And look, that 40% that said this negatively weighed on their mental health. I mean, I've had all types of times throughout this year and the bottom part of last year where I was afraid, oh man, do I have enough money for this? Do I have enough money for that? I'm never gonna get it. Because I said before, like my thing was always how hard it was just get a job. But even in getting one, I kept remembering, oh yeah, that's right. The other snag is that if you don't have one, you can't get anything, and if you do have one, you still can barely get anything because they're not giving you enough hours. So it was like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Um, but I'm not surprised for almost what two fifths are saying that this affected their mental health. It's scary when you think that you're not going to have a place to live. I've mentioned before that when I go to the market, I keep seeing this same homeless lady that like is in this car, and it's parked in that same spot every single day. And I go there probably every couple of days, 3 4 days, and it's there. It's there, and it hasn't been there since the start. It's been there for about a month now. Just that car parked there every day in that same spot. And then I keep seeing when I go to the to like Starbucks, for example, these cars with these tinted windows, and you never see anyone leave out of them. They're always in those same spaces. I've driven around certain parts of my state, and I see trailers. You know, people are on the brink of collapse, and it's easy for all those who have a job or are doing well to say, "Oh, things are fine," but sometimes, and I'm not kidding, you can be in a place where everyone's gone designer clothes and just drive down the street and find a bunch of homeless people sitting outside or sleeping in their car. Um, it is really scary. But I do believe the most pressing reason this is happening is that there's just not enough hours. The wages are too low. The wages would be fine as they were if the cost of housing and many of the other costs weren't so damn high. Because I said that like if I'm getting paid, 15, 16, 17 an hour, but I'm working 40 hours, all I have to pay for is food and gas and stuff with a car, it's doable. But when you're talking about this bill, that bill, this bill, and then the place that you're working wants to slash your hours. Oh, this week, last week you're working 40, this week you're only going to work 30 or 20. It's impossible. That's why when I had my own, issue back in May, I was just glad I didn't have to worry about, oh, this amount, you have to have this amount of money by the end of the month for this bill. Like I was just happy that was over for the brief time that it was. Like, all you have to worry about now is food and where you're gonna sleep, and that's it. It's I just that's what causes the stress. The idea that if you don't get this job or if they fire you, you're doomed. You're gonna be on the streets. So it's awful. I'll never understand how Americans can say they care so much about each other, but they'll be against a wage increase, or they'll tell someone that works 40 hours a week that can't afford their stuff, you're just not working hard enough. What a joke. But empathy is one of the hardest things to come across. And in conclusion, it's the cost of living is too damn high. But anyone who wants to end their life, they should be able to find that for a reasonable accommodation.